Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Michaela Peters. Today I am going to talk to you about being a workaholic. Yeah, I had some comments in Russian being like, why don't you wear makeup on your channel? And I'm just like, dude, I don't wear makeup at home. But I'm about to go out to dinner, so I'm wearing makeup, so I'm like, let me record some videos, even though the lighting is not great because it's too late in the day, but whatever, we can't have it all. And my hair is wet, which is also, again, we can't have it all. Alright, so what did I want to talk about today? And where did I get the inspiration from this video? So, being a workaholic, it's really not something that people who are mentally healthy do, if I'm going to be very honest with you. And recently, I actually had my sister come up to me, who's young, and she's like, my mom is terrible because she didn't let me watch TV, and like said every kid ever. Or sometimes it's like, she didn't let me eat chocolate, or I don't know, something along those lines, which are the things that all kids want to do that they shouldn't actually do. And I told her, well, she wanted me to agree with her, and I was like, look, your parent, whoever, is just trying to help you and protect you and take care of you, even if you don't see it that way. And this is going to continue, obviously, to be some sort of issue as anybody grows up. And what I encouraged her to do was I was like, well, focus on the things that you can control. And I'm like, anytime you start feeling upset, but you don't have anybody to talk to, like me around to come cry to, write it down. Write down how you feel, or go outside, walk around in the backyard, go for a walk. And I was like, for me, when things were difficult for me, and this was more around age 15, there are a couple things I did have control over. So I didn't have a car yet, but if I wanted to go somewhere, what did I have? 2 legs. And I would go running, and I would just leave the house and go for like, an hour-long run, because that got me out of that bad headspace. Another thing that I did, and, I do get very frustrated when people kind of think I'm very smart because I do well in school. Like, no, I did well in school because it was the only environment I had control over. And some of this is probably autism stuff, because if in general social interactions are harder for me, aside from just what's going on at home, that usually means that one thing to occupy my attention would then be school. So, Harley saying hello today. I groomed them and they don't look that bad, and I'm really proud of myself. Now I'm a dog groomer too. Yeah, no, not really. Okay, so yeah, it was just like I had really great grades because I was like, hey, my parents are getting divorced. Hey, my parents are getting remarried. But there's one thing I can control, and it's me going running and me doing my homework. Now, people have a lot of very unhealthy coping mechanisms and things that they try to exert control over. One of the worst ones is other people. You see that a lot in relationships, like romantic relationships. Or some of it is some even crazier stuff, like, cutting and self-harm things, or, like, eating disorder stuff. Like, all of this is in some sort of attempt, I guess, to control one's environment around them because they feel out of control with another situation. And this is why there's that saying, like, please give me the ability to accept the things that I can't control. Because there are going to be a lot of things in life that you can't control. And that sucks, and move on, because dwelling on it and ruminating on it is not really going to help you. So for me, and I obsessively talk about, jokingly, not jokingly, my new autistic obsession of the housing market and buying a home and all that on here. And, my housing situation eventually is going to be something that I have more control over. But for now, it's a little bit difficult because financially I have not been in the workforce very long, and the U.S. housing market is whack, which I have talked about here. So what are things I do have control over right now, aside from exercising, which is a good way to exert control rather than having an eating disorder or some other unhealthy control coping mechanisms? Exercising is a great one. Exercising is always known to boost mood, but the other one is being a workaholic. And as I mentioned before, being a workaholic is a really hard thing to prove because of the fact that the economy is becoming more and more complicated for the younger generation, which is why you have so many people now who are even younger than me just like giving up altogether, and you have the whole NEET movement, the not in education or training. So yeah, like, am I proud of the fact that I'm a workaholic? No, I'm not. Like, if I'm going to be very honest with you, I'm not. I wish that I could be more balanced. But right now, I'm in an environment where, even though I'm like almost 30, okay, I've got a couple of years, but still, and I live at home, and even though I pay to live here, I'm still in a position where my activities, I would say, are very closely monitored, which, to be honest, I'm not really. I know people think I'm very interesting, but like, in America, I'm really not. I'm like more interesting when I'm not in America because I'm American in another country, right? That's interesting. But when I'm at home, it's like, even if I wasn't working a lot, it's like, I used to, one of my friends made fun of me because one of the things that I was doing earlier in the year, because I was trying to figure out if I did work for the government, how much money they would pay me. So I would just go on a lot of random interviews and just submit a lot of random resume stuff. So like apply for jobs. And that's what I did like during my non-work hours. Like, who does that? Me. Yeah, that's weird. So, what I have control over right now, and because my bigger goal is eventually trying to, move out in a sustainable way, and, whether that is buying a house, whether that's renting somewhere cheap, whether that's having more of a long term strategy game plan, that I will eventually have control over once I feel like I'm in a, more secure financial position. I don't feel that way right now. I'm going to be very transparent about that. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. And, I think people, like, I especially get frustrated with all the people who are like, you speak so many languages and, you have so much education. Yeah, well, there's a reason why there's like a big push for people to not go into education and to just do trade jobs because, yeah, if you want to start making money quickly and, wealth doesn't come from being smart. It doesn't. It comes from doing very specific things to have money, which whether I want to admit this or not, do know a lot about because I do spend a lot of time researching this as well. And, money is a tool. I don't think it's healthy to be obsessed with money. I think it's very difficult in America. I think that that's like the number one thing that people talk about. I get kind of sick of it, and sometimes I do just want to be like, I want to go to Europe, but the thing that keeps me here is I really like my job right now, and I think that if I can hold out just a little bit longer, my life will get better in the long run. So sometimes you just have to deal with a situation you don't like because the bigger picture and the bigger long-term goal is more important to you than whatever stupid little things you have to deal with during the time being. And for me, being a workaholic is one of the ways that I cope with a situation that I'm going to be very honest about is not great, right? Like living at home, being this age, it's like, people think that's embarrassing to live at home past the age of 28. This is like a statistic. I talked about this already. And, one of the ways that I put my environment in a way that I like it to be, because now I'm not really in school anymore. I'm not like, on sports teams. I don't really interact with people. Like I interact with people at the restaurant. I get food at the restaurant. I, make decent money there for a job that doesn't require any sort of like, too much training or a degree or something like that I had to go through. And it's also a way for me to get out of the house during the time that everybody else in the house is home. Because I'm usually working at home during the daytime, which is when, like, nobody's here. Yeah, at night everybody comes home, and there's a lot of contention also around dinner in my house, which I'm not going to get into this, but, like, this is one of the coping strategies I have because I have control over my work schedule, picking up shifts at the restaurant, getting out of the house. I mean, I do have a car. I can physically go to a cafe, but since my long-term goal is saving money, I'm not really always in, like, such a dire, I always have, like, a super strong desire to just go out of the house and, like, spend money willy-nilly. When I was in school, that was a little bit different because I was like already at the university, and sometimes I would like have to get food and just go somewhere where I could concentrate, and just like getting through school was the objective. That's not the objective anymore. The grades are not the objective. The objective is holding down a job and getting money and getting as much money as I can in a short period of time so that I can then relax in whatever living situation I have. I also figure it's pretty hard to judge somebody for working a lot, my parents, because you are like working, and like how can somebody be like that's bad? And no, I never get told I work too much by my parents. I wish I did, because I do. I really do. And I don't think it's a good example for people. I really don't. And is it going to be better? Yeah, kind of. But like at the same time, I not that soon, probably. But I'm going to take a break from the restaurant in about a month, but I have the PhD stuff, so like same difference, really. Yeah, so I guess that's the confession of me being a workaholic is I'm in a situation right now where I don't love the situation I'm in. I don't. It wouldn't be prudent for me to make a rash decision in another direction right now. And the things I have control over are, my actions, my behaviors, my responses. And pretty soon, if I hold out, I will have control over my entire life the way that I want it to be. So, that's what I want people to know. I want people to know that being a workaholic is not always something that people do just to support themselves or support their family. It's like an addiction. It's like anything else. That's why there's an aholic at the end of it, right? Um, it's a means to cope with emotional dysregulation, and it kind of numbs you. So, I unfortunately did grow up seeing this example in my family for my dad. And, I think that's kind of a common thing with a lot of American dads because they are the breadwinners and women don't work as much because it just doesn't make sense with the cost of childcare. So, you know, I hope they'll move on from this phase and find balance at some point. But for now, this is the way things are. And I don't want to glorify this lifestyle by any means. And I want people to know, like, why do people do this? And yeah, it's nice that it's not really an option in a place like Finland because people don't just work two jobs like that. So yeah, that's life right now. And we'll see where I end up. I don't know right now because my whole game plan is like scheduled a year out from now. And in the meantime, I'm on Zillow all the time. I love Zillow. Yeah, I was looking at New Hampshire today. Why? Because it's one of the states in the US where you don't have to pay state income tax. There's like 5 of them, and New Hampshire is the closest one to me, kind of. Well, Tennessee is probably the same distance, but Tennessee is too landlocked. I don't like the idea of being landlocked. It stresses me out. Yeah. All right. Well, that's everything I have for today. I have no idea when I'm going to record again. It's just been really crazy recently in my life, so I'm going to try when I have time, and you will see videos of me when I have time to make them. All right, everybody, have a good day. I just realized it's 9/11 today, and I do remember 9/11 when I was a kid. Apparently, that's like how you know if you're a millennial or Gen Z. Like, do you have memories of 9/11? I do. I was still living in Maryland, and I came home, and my mom was crying, and I was like, "What's going on?" And then I saw on the news, and I'm like, I didn't like really understand it. I understood it was upsetting, but I didn't understand why. I don't know. I was a kid, and also I'm autistic, so maybe I was just like confused. Oh, okay. Anyway, yeah, we learned a lot about like neurodivergence today at work, and they gave me a whole article that talks about autism. I need to go back and read it. Exciting. Okay, yeah. So that's everything on September 11th. Very sad day in the U.S. Also kind of scary when you think about how close I am to New York now. And it's like, wow. Yeah, I wasn't living close to New York when it happened, but still. Yeah. Yep, that was not a great time in American history, so it's very sad. All right, well, yeah, I have a grant application due at the end of this week, so it's possible you won't see me until next week. All right, so until next week, everybody, probably, and if you see me sooner, nice. All right, see you next time. Bye.